Good evening and welcome to this another edition of the Republican debate on Camden's television. It's a pleasure for us to know that you are out there in your numbers watching the program at this particular moment. We shall be discussing Anglophone crisis if dialogue was to be reopened with jail leaders. It's true that since 2016, the Anglophone crisis have actually caused havoc. Many Cameroonians have died, properties destroyed. Others are now refugees in their own country and elsewhere in Nigeria. And we know that some leaders are arrested and are jailed. But now, the question is, if Sisiku, Ayok Tabe, and others, if dialogue was to be reopened with them, will the situation calm down in the southwest and northwest region? Equally, the Bali attacks in a church, we know that some attacks actually went on in a Presbyterian church in Bali. And the SDF is divided between Jean-Michel Ninche and Joshua Osi. It's true that they have all condemned the attacks, but Ninche is saying that the form of the state should be tabled on a dialogue table. And lastly, we shall be discussing back to school. We know that back to school will be effective on the 6th of September 2021. Should we or should parents be paying PTA fees, or are PTA fees obligatory? It's the Republican debate. We have, of course, our invitees here. We have Prince Hekoso, the president of the USDP party. Mr. President, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, televiewers. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to all the members and sympathizers of the United Socialist Democratic Party. Good evening, Tavi Clarkson, and good evening to my fellow panelist, friend. And it's a pleasure for me to be here once more so that we can discuss the issues that manage the tranquility of our country.
It's a pleasure for us to have you again in the program. Equally with us here is a journalist, they call him Linus Otsoko Trezor. Linus, you are welcome.
Thank you, Tavi Clarkson. Good evening. Good evening, Prince Ekoso. Good evening to all televiewers of Camden's TV and your millions of subscribers on Facebook and YouTube who are Republicans by following these debates on a weekly basis.
It's a pleasure, but before we actually begin our program, can we have this videotape? The video. Let's watch the video. I want us to comment a little bit about this video. I'll begin with you, Prince Ekoso. We saw a policeman with a civilian fighting. A policeman in uniform, of course.
Well, you know, there are certain situations in the country that you only have to look at it and smile, because there is no way you can continue to be consistently angry about certain happenings in this country. But generally, that incident is one of the most, one of the many unfortunate incidents that characterizes our forces of law and order in this country. And some people say that we blame the civilian man who was fighting with the policeman, and some people are blaming the policeman for fighting with the civilian. But now, when we come into the context of the police corps, what are the principles of the policeman? When you are in public, what is supposed to be your conduct? If we go into the principles of the conduct of a policeman on duty, that act of the policeman is something that's supposed to be sanctioned. A policeman is not supposed to be fighting with his fist, exchanging blows with a civilian. Whatever the circumstances were that dramatized that very particular incident, I believe that a policeman is supposed to be a very responsible citizen that controls or coordinates law and order. Does the law permit us to be fighting on the street? The answer is no. Does the law permit us to be aggressive as a policeman? The answer is no. But coming into the context where we find ourselves in this country right now, you know, there are a lot of frustrations in people's minds. People are frustrated in various capacities, and the fact that he's putting on a police uniform does not mean that he's not a human being. And there are certain things that he may have inherited during the day that orchestrated the anger, and that boils down to the exchange of blows. You know, there are many things that provoke people. So in all and all, I want to say that all as citizens, all of us as citizens, we are called to be able to portray an exemplary attitude, especially when we come into a position of leadership and when we are to serve the society and the citizens for that matter. We are called as citizens, as those who have responsible positions in the society like police people, the army, and the administrators. We are called to be able to be an example to one another and not to create tension and to create a scenario that shames the country at home and abroad.
Lionel Sotoko, your own comments about the video, a policeman fighting with a civilian?
To me,
Rodrigue, can we have the images again of the policeman fighting, maybe in double box, please?
To me, it demonstrates the fall in moral values, which we have been decrying on this forum in the past weeks. It also decries disrespect for the state laws even by the police. Like Prince Ekoso said, wearing a uniform does not make you a superhuman. The second thing is that filtered information say that man in civilian attire is a military man who works with the Marine Force in Douala. So fighting with a civilian to the point of tearing his suit, because that suit is torn. Well done. Now, the first time when I watched that video, the first question I asked myself is, what was the reason? And even if the policeman was right, does the fact that he is a policeman gives him that right to go the extra mile on the law? Because when people fight, they always come and arrest them. I remember the statement, "Rixe sur la voie publique." It's sanctioned.
Exactly.
Sanctioned by the law.
That's right.
Now, does the fact that he is a policeman stands him above the law? Question. So, like we have been saying, the police, through this kind of actions, has lost the total respect of the population with which they are supposed to work. That is a problem. Because as compared to other military corps, the police should be closer to the population. Now, when you lose the respect of your immediate partners, on the basis of what?
The people.
On the basis of what do they work? I begin to ask myself two questions. I came out with two conclusions. There are two things. Either we will reform the corps completely, or we'll just close it for some time.
Now we should close the corps.
Yeah, we should just close the corps for some time.
It's true that we have the impression, Prince Ekoso, that the police is no longer a friend to the population.
Yeah, I want to just quickly mention an incident that happened to me just about, I think, 2 days ago. I was driving and coming back from some Sonel technicians came to my place and they had to do some work. So in my Republican attitude, I said, okay, I should drop them back to their office. Since it was threatening to rain, I was almost getting to the time that they were supposed to close from their work. So I carried them in the car. I drove somewhere around Simbok, around the Catholic Church Simbok, somewhere there. I saw these police people were doing control. So they stopped me, and one of the things that really amazed me sometimes with the policeman is that he feels that he is the alpha and omega. He virtually stood in the middle of the road and raised up his hands. Other cars were parked that they had already stopped. So it made the road to become a little bit narrow. So I wanted to say, I asked, I said, let me park well so that you can do your control. He said, I should present myself. I introduced myself. I said, I am the president of a political party. My name is Tan Tan Tan. He said I should give my ID card. I removed my ID card in my pocket, gave to him. He saw other portfolios that is listed on my ID card. He exclaimed, he said, oh. He said, okay, give me the document of the car. As I was about to put my hand on the shelf on top of the car to remove the document, another car that was trying to escape their control brushed my car at the side. So I came out and I called his attention. So when the other car brushed my car, he was still concentrating on wanting my documents. So when I came out, I saw the gravity of the situation. I called his attention. I said, are you concerned with what has happened to me, or you are concerned now with the paper? And you have allowed the other person to go. That's when it dawned on him. Two of them mounted a bike and they were chasing the person who brushed the side of my car. At the end of the day, I didn't see where they went to. The car is there. I'm the one who is going to spend money to repair it. Why? Because a policeman was not interested in the principles and the practicability of his job. I don't know whether if it was some other, let me say, other political leader of this country, that just says that I am Mr. This, I am the leader of this political party, will that policeman insist that give me your ID card, give me the document of the car? So one of the things that I want to emphasize is that, like my brother said, there is the loss of respect. The police corps does not even respect themselves, and they don't respect the citizens. And they are in the midst of citizens, they are what we call in some jargon, senior citizens. And I think by the grace of God, I fall around that category. If I have been in certain situations, I've been driving for a very long time now. I will remember one time I was driving to the south. I made a control. I just introduced myself. I said, I am President. They saluted me and then asked me to pass. But sometimes you find certain attitudes of some policemen and women, which is very, very abhorring. And I want to believe that there is need for reform, like my brother said. There is supposed to be a kind of reform that brings the country to a place where people are called to respect the law, even those who are supposed to be the applicants of the law. Everyone is the same before the law.
Nobody is above the law.
Nobody should be above the law.
Linus Otsoko, the police no longer a friend?
No, they are no longer a friend, and even to themselves, they are no longer friends. You know what? Another thing that really sounded funny on that video, if you watch it again, you realize that the first person who is even trying to separate the fight is a female policeman.
Exactly.
He's a female member of the police. And the man, gentility attached to the corps in which he is, does not even allow him to be calmed down by a woman and to continue the tension.
That's right.
Automatically, for a gentleman, he would have cooled off.
That's right.
But miraculously, that is where he claims to be stronger even. And if you watch from where the person who separated them, the man in red, is a bike man.
Of course.
Who come and tell policeman, say, I beg grand friend, leave us home. It is really funny. It is really funny. The second thing is the citizen who incurred the damage now, who repair. Let's go from zero. His suit, who repaired the suit?
That's right.
It's still him. So, it's his fault to meeting a policeman on the road. I don't know.
That's right.
And I still say it here, and I said it here, Mr. Tabi. If we remove that policeman in that situation and put a gendarme, that man will be more calm. Because all gendarmes in their schools, the first lesson they teach them is the law.
They don't teach law in the police school?
You are right.
They don't teach law in the police school?
I cannot say they teach law. I cannot say they don't teach. I've never been in a police school. But the way they
have you been in a gendarme school?
But in gendarmerie school, at least I have followed their programs. I have followed their programs. They teach law in every gendarmerie school. That's the first course. In the police, I can't say they teach, but the way they behave
You can tell.
Tells me that maybe that law teacher, either they were sleeping or the law teacher was
Do you
having.
agree that gendarmes are better than police?
Well, you know, the disciplines are different. The gendarmes corps is different from that of the police. And maybe because of the differences, the principles are also different. And since the principles are different, the application of those principles may be different. So I want to assume from what my brother is saying that the gendarmes are taught law in their programs, that the gendarmes are more inclined to practice what they are taught than the police people. Maybe they are taught, but it is a difference.
That is what makes the beauty of the call.
Exactly.
The application of the law in the field.
That's right.
100 times did I meet gendarmes.
That's right.
Never has a gendarme shouted at me.
That's right.
He will tell you, please, you park here. Even if you shout at him, no, he will not insult you back.
Of course.
He will just take his paper and draft a PV with all the insults you are writing.
That's right.
And when you reach the gendarmerie, that's when you start realizing how bitter your insults are to yourself.
That's right.
That's the particularity of gendarmes.
Roger, can we have again that video before we actually move on to our first topic? The video again of the policeman who is actually fighting. Rodrigue, it's true that...
and the point is that in this situation, it has become recurrent in the country. It's either you are seeing the policeman being beaten, or you are seeing the policeman
beating, bullying somebody,
climbing on a vehicle, or the policeman being run by a vehicle. You know, recently there was a policeman that was run over by a car.
Yeah.
You know, why you cannot be stopping a car and standing
with your own body.
Car.
A machine that weighs 20 times your weight.
Your body is not an engine.
Are you supporting the driver who...
I am not supporting, but the point is that there are principles for your work. You must apply those principles. Standing there and that car runs over you, it is your life which is endangered. And therefore, people should be very careful. The police corps, I call on the boss of the police corps to actually look into, particularly this incident that happened in
Besenge.
In Besenge. Yes, because that's what I see there is nothing less than the word terrorism. That young man, or whether it's an old man, is portraying an element of terrorism in the heart of the city of Douala, which means that if tomorrow he's no more the sacking from the police corps, you can imagine what he can do in the quarters.
No, you really be terrible.
So those are the things that we are decrying.
So you are advising that it should be sanctioned, eh?
It should be sanctioned, and then at the same time, there should be reformed in the police corps. We cannot have police people who are aggressors. We cannot have police people who are portraying characters of terrorism. You know, and we have terrorism law in this country. He should be judged based on that.
This kind of behavior calls for an introspection and reformation of the police corps. You cannot be having citizens who always believe.
Should we look into the criteria again?
Yeah, we should look, not just look into the criteria, but even reform.
Anglophone say enquête de moralité, something like that.
Enquête de moralité has long gone into archives.
That's right.
If we bring them out, the police itself will realize that in their ranks, they have so many armed robbers who enter the corps.
Of course.
But now, what can we do with them? Like, I remember the then delegate of the police in those days, PM Ilomedzo, once said, they took him to the police college in Mutengene, and there was like some sort of shot exercise. One did 5 shots on the same spot. And when the delegate went and verified, he said, wonderful. If we should send this guy out of the police, so the best thing to do is to maintain him in the corps.
That's right.
Do you think if he does something bad, they will send him out? There is a need for reformation.
Exactly.
There is an urgent need for reformation. And the earlier it is done, the better.
The earlier it is done, the better. We shall be moving now on to our first topic. But before the first topic, can we have this report, the report about the so-called Ambazonians who were arrested in Nigeria some few days ago? Can we have the report? The Nigerian police has arrested 39 persons who have been causing havoc in Nigeria and also specialized in the sales of explosives. Explosives that are most often used by separatist fighters in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon.
For this brief, we have a total of 39 suspects. These suspects are persons whom investigations have clearly established prima facie cases against. These cases range from armed robbery to kidnapping to trafficking in weapons, car theft, cyber crimes, homicide-related crimes, and other very serious crimes.
The main suspect, Ntui Lambert, was arrested on his way to Cameroon, certainly for him to deliver the items to the separatist fighters.
58 wraps of explosives suspected to be dynamites. These are very strong explosives that can have very devastating impacts when they find their way into the hands of criminals. Was arrested by police operatives from this unit somewhere in Ikom in Cross River State while trying to smuggle or traffic these explosives to Cameroon.
As a reminder, Sisiku Ayok Tabe and 46 others were arrested in Nigeria in 2018 by the Nigerian police. This another arrest is just coming to confirm that Nigeria and Cameroon are bent in combating terrorism. The arrest also comes at the time of the 8th session of security meeting between Nigeria and Cameroon. Minister Paul Atanganji represented the Cameroonian government in the meeting that took place in Nigeria and just ended yesterday.
His father is a Nigerian and his mother is from Cameroon. Detailed investigations are ongoing in this case, and we will work with our counterparts in Cameroon to ensure that this case is investigated conclusively and justice done at the end of the case.
The main suspect recognizes his atrocities.
I was arrested in possession of dynamite explosive and live ammunition of AK-47.
Him and the others will have to dance to the tune of justice. Okay, we have just seen this report of this Cameroonian arrested in Nigeria. He was coming to Cameroon with these explosives, according to the Nigerian police, to give it to separatist fighters in the northwest and southwest regions. So, Rodrigue, can we have the first topic on the screen? We have it already. You just watched that video, the report, President Kosso. What do you have to say about it?
Well, you know, one of the things I want to continue to underscore, you know, each time I come here or each time I have the opportunity to be on any TV station, is that I love my country. You know, I love
Roger, there's a mistake again, please. Look, to be reopened. We said I should put it in quotes, reopened, please. Rodrigue. Yes, President Kosso.
So I love my country, and I am committed to see that the country becomes the country that can be admired at home and abroad. The Anglophone crisis is one of the most devastating characteristics or situations that has happened in this country, and that continue to shame the country at home and abroad. You see the depravity of life in this crisis. And I remember in 2008, after the advent of the, what they call it, fuel crisis in Cameroon, there was a speech that was made by President Biya. And I remember vividly one of those phrases he made. He said that on ne bâtit pas une nation en multipliant les ruines. In other words, we cannot build a country by multiplying the ruins. When we look at what is going on in the northwest and the southwest of this country, it is more than the word ruins. The ruins are at different levels and different categories. Human lives are being wasted on a daily basis. Properties are being destroyed. Like yesterday, I saw in a video on social media how the separatist fighters went to Wom, destroyed schools, destroyed properties. And this destruction is not only on the part of the separatists. Even at this point, at the level of the military, we have seen destruction. The military is dying, the separatist fighters are dying. Before the advent of the crisis, we all knew that all of us are citizens of the same country. But when we find ourselves whereby the military is killing the separatist fighters who were before now normal civilians in the society, and those civilians have gotten weapons, weapons of mass destruction, like what I saw yesterday. They had this launcher that destroyed and killed some soldiers. I asked myself, how can we get to the point of emergence with a situation at hand like this? And in my view, I believe that much has not been done in order to arrest the situation. Because what is necessary at this point in time is to arrest the situation. Some people have the view that the situation has already gone out of hand. As a leader, I believe that there is still the possibility to arrest the situation. And the best way to arrest the situation is to come back to your topic, reopening of dialogue. And in my view, the dialogue should not be limited only to those who have been arrested and put in jail. This dialogue has to do with the whole country. And when I say the whole country, I'm not saying that the whole country should come together on one table and begin to talk about dialogue. The issue at stake is an error, historical error, which we cannot ignore. And we must go back to the root causes of that error and bring out the facts and humble ourselves in front of history and the facts so that we can be able to have what we call pure conscience and solve the crisis. Until that is done, all the measures taken to secure our borders, which is good, will not be a panacea to the crisis. Because secessionist philosophy is not defeated by increasing, violence. Trying to say that the secessionists will be crushed, to me, is something that you are only provoking and creating a situation where people will re-strategize and bring up the arrest of Sisiku and co. Did this solve the problem? The answer is no. So dialogue and consistent dialogue is one of the elements in leadership that gives leadership efficiency.
I
would disagree totally with Prince Ekoso on this issue. And I'll quote a U.S. event. We remember some time ago, many years back, there was an attack on the U.S. embassy in Afghanistan. In that attack, the U.S. actors reacted to this event in which the ambassador was killed. And Samuel L. Jackson, who represented the head of U.S. forces who intervened to try to save the ambassador, said to the military court the following, quotes, "A civilian with an arm is no longer a civilian because he ordered his troops to kill everyone who was
a civilian with an arm.
A civilian with an arm is no longer a civilian." And everybody was like, wow, crime against humanity. But do you know at the end of the Marshall Court trial, he was acquitted because that was the only solution. And when they counted the casualty in his camp, he had lost half his troops. Shot by civilians. Now let's get the point to Cameroon. There were discontentments. And I'll take it in the general sense of it. There is no zone in Cameroon where there are no discontentments, Tabi Clarkson. Dear televiewers of Camden, there is no zone in Cameroon where there are no complaints. But that zone decided to take the complaint in a particular manner. People were arrested, yes. I will quote again an event that all of us have on Facebook. I remember our fellow colleague Adamu Musa posted it on Facebook on the 16th of August, the homily of the Bishop of Kumbo. Tabi Clarkson, if you follow that homily, he was making an X-ray of the Anglophone crisis. And the bishop started with a statement.
He said what? The bishop?
He started with a statement. In the name of Holy Mary, I beg on you all to go for mutual pardon. Because hatred will only bring in more hatred. Killings will only bring in more killings. And he started pointing fingers even in his church. Citing somebody who ordered for Catholic schools to close down. Yes. As long as we will keep on doing that hypocrisy, playing the politics of the ostrich, burying our heads in sand, believing not to be seen, the reality will always catch us back. It will catch us back. The simplest thing that would have been done was to go for another dialogue.
I will ask for a jingle. I will ask for a jingle for us to come back before we come back. Rodrigo, I will have a jingle before we come back. So when a civilian uses arm, he's no longer
a civilian. That is why there was a military response. And to come back on what the Bishop of Kumbo said, he said the list of things was to sit and make an evaluation. He even went further in his homily to calculate the expense, the slavery in which those who moved up from the northwest to Douala, to Bafoussam, to Betwa are undergoing. And the list of things were for every human being who has a brain. When you have gone on a venture for 2-3 years, you sit and make an evaluation. I disagree here with Prince Ekoso because what I say, the list of persons in that zone, among those guys who will sit and make an evaluation, they have lost more than they have won. And it is not on one side. The loss is on casualties. The economic losses, I don't want to enter details because we are in ministries here. It goes at more than billions, hundreds of billions. It is not for the state. Sorry. It is not on behalf of the state. When we establish an international center, test laboratory in your zone, you don't know how much you receive from abroad. But in the name of discontentment, we decided to
we should reopen talks with the jail leaders,
we should reopen talks.
Kamer.
Point of correction, not with jail leaders. Why? Let me explain. Some time ago, during the attacks in Kumba, in which children were shot, I remember Sisiku Ayuk Tabe produced a document in which he was presenting the situation and calling on all to calm down, calling on his brothers to respect the life of innocent children. I remember the response was on the opposite. From his so-called cause. So now, if I'm believed to be the prophet of Konengi, and I speak in Konengi, and everybody says, Masakari, I can't go leave this place. Do you think dialogue with him will yield any fruit? It is like I'm taking my gun and shooting my foot and saying that I'll run 100 meters in 1 hour time.
So are you saying he is no longer important?
Not that he's no longer important. His voice is no longer respected. And so the list of things is to want us to help you. No, they are entering, burning, looting, and even killing some people whom they are supposed to protect. It's really miraculous.
Okay, according to you, we should extend. We should not only limit ourselves.
It should just be extended.
Yes, you want to react, Prince Ekoso?
Yeah, I just want to continue to reiterate on the fact that I think that what my brother has said, he's not disagreeing with me because he's saying the same thing that I said,
okay,
but saying it in his own way.
Okay.
Because I didn't say that the dialogue should be limited only around Siseko and co. I said that the dialogue should be extended, you know, and I mentioned the fact that there is a lot of destruction going on, which is not helping neither former West Cameroonians, it's not helping the Anglophones, it's not helping the Northwest and the Southwest, it's not helping the country as a whole. In terms of the economy, which is something that in my party we are studying it very profoundly to see the implication of this war in the idea that destruction is going to help the crisis to come to an end. Because I, as a leader, I cannot be wanting to be the president of the country and then I am subscribing to violence. There is just no way that violence will solve this problem. We will all must come to a dialogue table. And that dialogue table, like he rightly said, should be extended. Those boys in the bushes should be, in one way or the other, called to order. I believe that there are people who have direct contacts of those guys in the bush. There are people even, I'm not pointing finger, but I believe that there are people even at the level of authorities who know some of those guys and probably have their contacts. Therefore, it is about time for us to be able to stop this rubbish which is going on in this country and bring the country to a place where the country can emerge.
Stop the rubbish, stop the crisis. We are welcoming him. He is coming. He is just coming, entering. They call him a blessed baby. Blessed baby, good evening and welcome to the Republican debate.
Good evening, Tabi Clarkson, and good evening to my fellow co-panelists. No, we haven't seen each other for a long time. The same for Prince Ekoso, but I'm glad to be here after a very long time and to be able to join you to talk about some of these issues that are very important in the life of our country.
The Anglophone crisis, should we reopen dialogues with
it's very
it's
a very delicate it's a very delicate situation because I want to, what people fail to understand is that what we're going to say here today, if we don't take action, tomorrow it will not be the same dynamics. The day after tomorrow will not be the same parameters. Things are changing. Things are changing. And people in authority, whatever position in which they find themselves, must understand that things are changing. And when you talk about reopening dialogue with Siseko Ayoktabe, you remember that one of the should I say, the initiators or the leaders of the armed resistance that is happening in the northwest and southwest regions said that their aim was to make the territory ungovernable. I put ungovernable in quotes. What is the meaning of ungovernable? Ungovernable means that the aim was to create a no man's land, was to create a territory without any form of authority, any form of control, any form of organization or order. And that is what is happening. But what is the other side of having an ungovernable territory? It means that nobody is actually in control.
Nobody, even the traditional
nobody is in control. That is the risk.
Even their power
that
is
the
lost.
risk. Now, when you talk about, and even those who think that they're in the diaspora, who think that they are controlling what is happening in North and Southwest, don't know that they are not controlling anything.
Exactly.
They are not controlling anything.
Nobody is controlling anything.
They are not controlling anything.
No
So
man's land.
the idea of thinking that people have power over the crime, over the insecurity that is happening in the Northwest, I'm sorry, they don't know. So when you go to the negotiation table, do you think that you'll be able to speak on behalf of those boys I saw entering into Oku? Do you think that you can speak on their behalf? I'm sorry. It has become an illusion.
Right.
Who can speak then on their behalf?
The people who are living in those communities. Do you hear? The people who are living in those communities are the people who have the opportunity, you understand, to talk to those children. And those are the channels that we have to use to be able to create a sense
Need to
of
send a government
responsibility.
minister to Oku.
Oh, to go on to what? Would he even
help.
reach there?
He won't help.
Would he even reach there? I think that, look, there are channels. There are channels.
That's right.
There are some institutions in the Northwest that have not stopped functioning. I'm looking at issues like the development corporation, the development associations.
That's right.
They have not stopped functioning. There are churches that have not stopped functioning. I think that there are some, these are now community leaders who can, and it has to be on the platform. There has to be something that the state is offering.
Right.
The state must make some
There should
major
be guarantees,
compromises.
offered
The
guarantees.
state must make some concessions.
Right.
This is a public. What is happening in the North is that we are in a cycle of conflict that has moved into several other forms of conflict, and it is not easy to sit and say this is going to be the object of dialogue. Now, let me tell you something. 2 years ago, the number of people who were believing in the independence of the former British Southern Cameroon is not the same. It's not the same number today.
Oh, the number has dropped.
The number has dropped
drastically.
Yes, people are now asking themselves that what
this the
if we get into this independence thing and you people
Now, look at the way they are handling us now.
deal with us as you're dealing with us now.
Crossing down, but we will
Yes.
even finish.
So I think that there is an opportunity for the state at this point in time to make concessions, to make a compromise. People have taken a step to say, okay, this is decentralization. But go into decentralization and see how even the mayors themselves, the presidents of the regions themselves are having the feeling that they are being duped.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ultimately, and I want to come out here, ultimately, Yaoundé must understand that the future of this country, all of the regions, is a great measure of autonomy. Autonomy. That the decentralized system does not have a future. People no longer see themselves being caused to take every little decision from Yaoundé. So I think that it is not only about solving the Anglophone problem. It is about preempting other issues of sovereignty that this country is going to face moving forward.
That's right.
So, should we open discussions with Ayok Tabe? It is possible to have discussions on him, on their view of what to be done to move forward.
But you are talking most of
But I am afraid.
community leaders.
I am afraid that if you go and focus, because I think that we have given a lot of importance to some of these boys, especially those who are abroad, and they think that they are the ones managing what is happening on the field. I am sorry. They themselves, we have been seeing videos where some of those, our young brothers come out and insult them to say that, look, you people should not think that you are the ones running things here. These boys have ways of kidnapping people and taking ransom. These boys are mounting barricades around the northwest and southwest and collecting money. They have schemes where people go and give the money. They are forcing people to give the money, so they are able to go and to make their own handicraft guns and to continue enforcing what they are preaching. So please, it is an illusion to think somebody sits somewhere and says that I'm controlling them.
Linus Otoko?
I'll tell Bless Baby on the point of decentralization that a baby that is born is not born walking. He starts by crawling. No matter what we believe,
It's a gradual process.
it's a gradual process. So we should wait. We should not expect that tree we planted yesterday to produce food this morning. No, that would be exacting too much. But at the level of the crisis, like I was quoting the Bishop of Kumbo, I will quote him again, because at one point in his homily he started with, how far have we gone in our quest of self-autonomy? We have reached a point in which respect for human life the sense of respect has been lost. That is what he was saying. He being in the field. Now,
Yeah, of course.
we want the dialogue. Yes. Like he said, the state should do some concessions. But I still ask myself, Tabby Clarkson, with who will we make the concessions? Prince Ekoso said, yesterday they had 10 guns. Today they have rocket bouncers. tomorrow they'll be having missiles. With who will we talk? The question remains. With who?
With who, Mr. Koso? With who to open dialogue, to discuss with? It's true that Blessed Baby was talking of community leaders, church leaders, for example.
Basically, I believe that there are always ways to solve a problem. It is said that when there is the will, there will be the way. And most of the time, Cameroonians generally believe that the government does not have the will. They may be right and they may be wrong in their assertion. But the point we are trying to make, and which Bebe has expressly demonstrated the possibility, is that at this point in time, there are certain activities going on still in those regions. And who are those animating those activities? You've mentioned about the homily of Father...
The Bishop of Oku.
The Bishop of Oku.
Of Kumbo.
Of Kumbo. He becomes a central point of contact. Has he been able to meet with some of those boys? If the answer is yes, then how do we pass through him to be able to make concessions with them? If he has not been able to meet with some of those boys, is there a possibility for him to be able to meet someone that can be able to meet with them? If the answer is yes, we go by that route.
I can tell you he's not safe. He himself said he is homily.
I'm
not sure on leaving this woman will not be kidnapped. He said it himself.
We are making judgment based on the question that I asked on this platform.
Okay.
So we cannot also sit at the same time and make conclusions that he has been there for too long. If he was supposed to be kidnapped, they would have kidnapped him a long time ago. So I believe that there is a possibility, and I mentioned that in my opening statement, that there is still that possibility for us to get hold of the situation. And the person or the people or the organ that can get hold of the situation is the government. When we talk about the government, we are not pointing finger to an individual. There is a whole system that governs the country. And I believe strongly that all is not yet lost. And because of this belief that we have, or that all of us express here, we can push it to those who matter. And when we push it to those who matter, we can sit together and brainstorm. Everything about nation building is brainstorming.
All is not yet lost. It's true that the Secretary General of your party actually organized a football tournament in Fort Abbey, the South. Can we say that those are people to contact?
That is what I'm saying. When I'm speaking with a lot of authority because I have information from the ground. The fact that that tournament was organized in Fort Abbey village is a whole victory on itself on our part. The role that the party is playing in order to bring about peace and to bring about people reasoning out of the box and understanding that destroying the country or destroying your community does not give you the ultimate power. When you destroy, it doesn't make you to become, so we are doing activities which we can show to those who matter that these are the things that at the level of our party we have done, and we can be able to achieve this, we can be able to achieve this.
It's true that it's called Sisiku Joseph Eyongta, the Secretary General of the USDP party. Blessed Baby, all is not yet lost.
No, all is not yet lost. All is not yet lost. I think that there is a whole network of opportunities that we must exploit. And for this to happen, it means that even those who are in leadership positions in government must also embrace another way of reasoning.
That's right.
What does it mean, another way of reasoning? It must not only be seen as a political victory,
right,
a personal political victory, to make things to change in our localities. Right. Look, there are civil society organizations that have stayed in those localities and that have been able to help people.
That's right.
You understand? He's talking about the Bishop of Kumbu. The Bishop of Kumbu is one of those religious leaders who remained in their seats of authority despite all of the hardship and the difficulty. It's not as if he too was not threatened. He too was threatened. There was a time when Kumbu became the battleground, even between people who were claiming that they were secessionist leaders, fighting each other. The paramount ruler of the South had to escape. And even, you can imagine that even a figure like the cardinal, who is venerated in that area, is going back home and is kidnapped. So I think that we have lost our moral compass. We have lost our moral compass. And our brothers must understand that there is always a time for retribution. There is a time for retribution. And that time will come, even in front of the community. When you have entered your own community, where you were born, where you grew up, you have taken part in all of these atrocities. It could be from the side of the military, just like from the side of non-state actors. But there is a point of retribution. And even when, because I pray that this thing comes to an end, even when this comes to an end, there's going to be a process of purification and reinsertion that has to happen, and reintegration. Reintegration is not as if conflict ends. No, it's the community accepting that despite all of what has happened, we accept you.
There's a commission, reconstruction.
I'm sorry that what we are talking about may not be in the ambit of that commission. I'm talking about villages being able to accept back these children when they erred and they are coming back. Because look, it is not as if we are saying that the claims for whatever, the claims for secession or the claims for federalism are baseless claims. No, we're not saying that. But we are saying that there is a point that you should not cross.
The flow of human
Yes. And I keep telling people, you know, when we were in high school, we used to use this literature book by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. I think, is it
I'll marry when I want.
I'll marry when I want. Good. I'll marry when I want. Where the lead character in the book was a former Mao insurgent who fought with the Mao, fought against the British in Kenya, and came back with circles. He was arrested. He was in prison. At the end of the day, he's telling his children, look, we fought for this thing. Today, Kenya is independent. We can take joy in it. But do you think that my personal situation, that the community was improved? We just took our leadership from the hands of the white man
and gave to another form of white man.
So I think that there is good. There is a need for political education. You see, and when we sit here like this, is to tell our brothers that look, political change does not come about only by revolution.
By destruction.
Yes, only by destruction. We need to be able to hold our mayors accountable.
That's right.
Whether you go to heaven and come back, the person who is going to be deciding which road is going to be tapped in the future. Lucky enough that my brother Linus believes so much in the process of decentralization. Look, I believe too.
Which I don't believe.
Yes, I believe too. But I believe in the process if it is perfected and on the right track.
That's right.
The mayor is going to be responsible for which road is tapped, for which children can get scholarships, for what is happening. So the true democracy will be able for us to be able to hold those mayors accountable. To say that if we are paying taxes, that we are able to vote, that our votes are able to count, that we are able to change our leaders when we want, through the processes, that the electoral process is functioning rightly. That is the real democracy that we must quest for in this country. When that happens, we will no longer be caring who is in Yaoundé, who is president, or who is minister. We'll be looking at the kind of autonomy that the local community can achieve under such a thing. So that's my prayer.
Okay, Linus Otoko, we are ending already on this first topic. You have a minute to conclude. What do you have to say? The advice that you are giving?
The advice I'm giving is the same advice like my brother Bebe said. Influential leaders in the field, the same cry they have been having, is that let them all sit and look at each other in the eyes. Draft an evaluation, mark themselves a pass or a fail on the track they have taken, and then see how to move forward. We cannot, I'll repeat that statement here 1,000 times. A civilian with a gun is no longer a civilian. But this does not make the military superstars above the law.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
But if we have to sit and make that evaluation, I will know that they were my brothers yesterday. And the question I'll ask is a question the bishop asked his community on that Assumption Sunday. What has happened to our moral values? What has happened to us? And then we want to see the way forward.
Prince Ekoso, President Ekoso, the advice that you are giving, should we dialogue with the jail leaders? Should we dialogue with community leaders? The way forward.
I will repeat the quote of President Biya in 2008. On ne construit pas un pays ou bien une nation en multipliant les ruines. The basis of the unwelcome situation that we find ourselves in is on the fact that people refuse to talk to each other. When there is no dialogue, anything can happen, even within the nucleus, which is the family. Dialogue is the principal point of solving any tension, any problem, anywhere, anyhow in the world. Dialoguing with Sisiku Ayuk and Co., dialoguing with the Bishop of Kumbo, dialoguing with Prince Ekoso, dialoguing with Bebe, dialoguing with
Linus Otoko,
dialoguing with Clarkson, dialoguing with Cameroonians is what is important at this point in time. I will want to remind us that from experience, our government has been away from the people. The government has been operating as if the people are supposed to be submissive there. They come and give them orders, do this, and we come and then you do that. No, governance has to do with dialogue. So things are changing. And I pray that our authorities should also change their strategy so that we can finally come to a place where we accept, because I myself, I'm being threatened all the time. You know, in such a way that some people, even some of them abroad who believe in the secessionist tendency, they even call me and say, hey, Mr. President, we know that you are not with us, but we don't want you to get involved. We don't want this kind of thing to happen to you. These are the people who are planning this, planning that against you. I said, well, nobody is exempted from dying. If people think that by killing me will solve the problem, I will be ready to be the sacrificial lamb. But the issue at stake for me is the element of destruction. We cannot continue to assume that we want to be free by destroying ourselves. It is unheard of. It is something that I cannot accept, in my view.
Bless Bebe, your last word on this, issue.
I just want to add my voice to what Prince is saying, to Linus, to say that we have come to a point where people have to ask themselves, if you are told that 2 million Anglophones are going to die in order to you to achieve your aims, would you still go ahead? If you're a leader, if you claim to be a leader, if you call yourself a leader, and they say that there is something you want to achieve, and they tell you that the path to achieving this is going to have 2 million lives on the ground so that you can now achieve it, will you go ahead to achieve it? That's a question that people have to ask themselves on both sides.
That's right.
Yes, you have to ask yourself, are we going to kill the entire country because we want to uphold a certain way of seeing things?
That's right.
And when we are in a state, there are things in the state that are immutable. There are things that cannot change.
That's right.
There are things that can change for the betterment of the state.
Sure.
And I always tell myself that people have to look at this on both sides. Ask ourselves, what is the essence? What is the essence of the Anglophone struggle? Is it autonomy? If it is autonomy, there is a possibility of achieving autonomy within the confines of the Cameroonian state.
That's right.
On the other side, what is the essence of fighting the separatist struggle? Is it to keep the territory together? Yes. If it is to keep the territory together, we can keep the territory together while ensuring that people can meet certain aspirations.
At least give away some of the powers.
Yes. So it is a thing of give and take. So tomorrow, if the people of the North rise up in an insurgency, are we going to go and crush and crush and crush and crush and crush? No. There comes a time, and leadership is a process of moving a people. This is what Francis Bacon says. Right. Moving a people from what they are to what they can be.
That's right.
And we cannot stay for the next 50 years without major changes.
That's right.
There will be a day when the East region will get up and say that, look, we don't want to exist like the East region again. Right. We want to join with Adamawa region.
That's right.
For so and so reason. The leader looks at the demands, but considers the needs. Because people don't always say what they want. They can get up and say that from today, they want to move with their heads on the ground. You as a leader, you have to look and say, I'm not sure that that declaration is what they want. Right. We have to go behind and see what they need. Exactly. When we see what they need, we now look for common ground. Right. And both sides should be able to accept common ground.
I love that. He says who? Is Baker is who?
Francis Bacon.
He said that what again?
He says that leadership is a process of moving a people from what they are
to what they should
what they can be.
Okay, to what they can be. Well, we shall be moving on to our second topic. But before that, this report on the SDF. The attacks in a church in Bali has come to put once again in public the disunity within the ranks of the SDF party, the Social Democratic Front. On Sunday, the 22nd of August, during a church service at the Presbyterian Church in Bali, unidentified gunmen shot a Christian faithful, a lady who died on the spot, and the pastor who is presently receiving medication at the Bamenda Central Hospital. The good news here is that the life of the pastor is not in danger. Following this abominable act, the attack in a church in God's house, two eminent SDF MPs came out to decry the attacks, but each in a separate way. The first outing was that of Honorable Joshua Osi, whom in his press release came out to say government has to put all on deck to end the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions, and that the SDF is the only political party that is working for peace, social cohesion, equality and social justice in our country, and killing somebody in God's house is unacceptable, and that government should take actions against the perpetrators of the attacks. On his part, Honorable Jean-Michel Nietzsche says condemning the attacks and allowing the populations without any concrete actions will not solve the problem. According to Jean-Michel Nietzsche, real peace can only be achieved if there is an inclusive, frank dialogue and if the form of the state is stable for discussion in the presence of political parties and civil society organizations. Jean-Michel Nietzsche and Joshua Osi of recent have been at loggerheads. Jean-Michel Nietzsche some months back slammed Article 8.2 on Joshua Osi for not respecting parties' ideologies in the littoral region where he is regional president of the SDF. Despite appeasement calls from the chairman, Nijon Fonzi, the battle between Osi and Ninche is far from ending. It's true that we are sorry to discuss the SDF without any militant of the SDF, but the SDF belongs to Cameroonians. We are not militants of that party. Anyway, it's true that the communication secretary, Denis Kemlemo, actually said that he was not coming, but then we have discussed in the SDF because the SDF is a national party, and two honorables of that party, Joshua Osi and of course Jean-Michel Nietzsche, came out to react vis-a-vis what happened in Bali. I will begin with you again, Blessed Baby. The attacks in Bali, your reaction, attacking somebody in the church. What is your reaction?
No. There's no way you can condone what happened in Bali. When people go to church, churches have been those places where people run to. People run to churches to go and hide. In every conflict around the world, there are certain places that have been respected. Even during the Second World War, How do you think that the church buildings all over Europe survived the Second World War? Because even when bombs were being dropped, people spared churches. The first refugees and internally displaced persons went to churches. Because in churches, even during the conflict in Biafra, during the Biafra War, people were hiding in churches. Some of the major Nigerian prelates, like Cardinal Arinze, became important during the Biafra War because they gave the churches for people to run to and hide. And when combatants came in front of churches, for whatever reasons, they knew that they could not go into those premises. But we have a mad conflict. We have a mad conflict. People attack hospitals, attack churches, attack convoys of humanitarian organizations that are going to deliver food, deliver supplies. And then a pastor, and I think that it is very symbolic. It's unfortunate that it is the Christian who died. But a man of God in that situation should have prepared to die. Should have preferred to die and let the lady be saved. Because it is the ultimate symbol on the attack on the church that the pastor is shot. The pastor is shot. How do you explain that? So I want to start, even before we get into the debate on politicians, there is no way you can condone that kind of action.
Yeah, basically, you know, I always tell people that the concept of leadership is a spiritual notion. And when people get into leadership position without understanding without having the Spirit of God in them, they tend to abuse leadership. Attacking the place of spirituality, the church, even our traditional shrines, people don't attack them anyhow.
Yeah.
I want to believe that even during this conflict, there was a time that there was some discrepancy between the Northwest, the chiefs that are being killed in the Northwest, and the chiefs are not being funds are not being killed in the Northwest, but chiefs have been killed in the Southwest. In the Northwest, how dare you go to the shrine, to the traditional shrine? How dare you go there and desecrate the place? It's the same policy and principle when it comes to the church. Killing a pastor in the church, like the book we call Murder in the Cathedral.
Yes.
I mean, those are all elements that has made the church to be venerated when a priest is killed. But in this country, it is frightening sometimes. Men of God have been killed, and it goes as if nothing happened. Go inside the church and carry out mass shooting, desecrating the temple of God, is what they call in French du jamais vu.
Lenos?
Prince Ekoso cited Murder in the Cathedral. And I remember when Archbishop Thomas Becket is killed, the faithful will sing a song. And I'll just give the first stanza of the song is, clear the air, clean the sky, wash the wind. Because an abomination has been committed.
That's right.
That's the word for the situation in which we are.
That's right.
It's an abomination. No matter of which faith we are, one of the most fundamental obligations is, I don't share your faith, but I respect your belief.
Of course.
So if I can respect your belief, but march into your place of belief with a gun and shoot you, does it make any sense of respect? We really need to clear the air, clean the sky, wash the wind, because it is abominable.
Attacking the church, we can say that enough is enough, blessed baby.
No, clearly today is a literature day on the panel. So
it's a literature day.
We'll continue summoning examples from literature. You remember, I think, we are of the same generation. We read the same books in school. You know? in the arrow of God. This is Chinua Achebe.
That's right.
There is a scene where a man is murdered, a man is killed, and when they go in front of the traditional the SMO, the SMO asks, "What did he do to be killed?"
That's right.
And the man who killed him says, "He came into my shrine and desecrated my chi." You know, chi is the Igbo word for my God.
That's right.
And the traditional herbalist says that if that is what he did, then he deserved to die.
That's right.
You understand?
That's right.
To desecrate a man's God
That's right.
is the wage for that is death.
That's right.
So, you know, like I said, that we have lost our moral compass. Just see the way people have been quick to attack men of God, even threaten them. At some time, they even took the men of God to courts.
That's right.
Say, no, they should open the schools. We paid money for the schools. So, in all of this insecurity, they were supposed to leave their own schools open. And for the church to even be holding in Bali is a sign of hope.
That's right.
For people to go to church is a sign of hope.
That's right.
There was a time in this crisis that people could not even go to church. My parents, my father lives in Dom. There was a time when even to cross and go to the church was not possible. So people should be careful. I saw a post the other day. I don't know if it is true. You know, there are lots of things on social media which are fake. When there's a former American Undersecretary of State saying that people should be aware that they will be held responsible. And don't think that people don't know who did those things.
That's right.
They could be, yes, they could be public rambling. No, it was military. No, it was the armed people. No. Even on both sides.
Amen.
Yeah, they say unidentified. That's the new explanation. Unidentified armed men. But if I am walking with you, you carry out that kind of act, I know that you are the one. And one day I'll say it.
Of course.
And mind you, all of those people who are buried in the bushes, the day when we would have reached the point of reconciliation and we'll say, let us try to honor those who died.
That's right.
People will come out and tell you that so and so man was buried in this place because I was there when he was being buried.
That's right.
People know. There is a human record of what is going on. Children see as their parents are killed. Children see as their brothers are killed.
Sure.
They know. When these military people are killed, they have families. When the corpses come back, after all of the up and down movement, it is left to a family to take them and go and put them in the ground. And they represent something for their families.
Sure.
So it is a very delicate thing that we are doing in this country. Teaching people how to see blood. It is a very dangerous thing.
Teaching people how to see blood. Now let's come to the SDF, the division between Nietzsche and OC. Nietzsche saying that the form of the state must be discussed as to what concerns the Anglophone crisis. Joshua OC is saying that condemning, same like Nietzsche condemning the attacks in Bali, but saying that government has to investigate and bring the perpetrators to book. Linus Otoko, do you think the form of the state must be discussed at this juncture?
I will be categorical at this material moment. We are talking a situation in the field. The death of someone in a place of worship. What was needed was condemnation. But now, the form of the state, is it a topic for debate at this material moment? I doubt. They are not debating the form of the state there. The voices in the bushes are using their guns and shooting. They are not asking you, is the form of your state fine? They don't want to know. They are doing their own. Entering schools and asking for a ransom, asking for their own share. You don't give, they set your school ablaze. They are not asking for this form of state. I don't think that's what they are out for. So it is great time we sit. Even the investigation we are calling upon, if now elites of those regions live in Yaoundé and Douala, who will go down to carry on that investigation? I remember at one time.
But there is a police.
I remember at one time there was a minister.
There is an army line also.
There was a minister who went down there. And I will not describe the image I had of him going down there. He was in a tank.
Cameroon saw the image.
An elite of a village going to his village in a tank. Okay. So it's just to show you how risky it is even for him who is the elite. Now, what of the son of a grandmother in Makari beside Mokolo, who by virtue of employment has been posted with his military attire there? Will he go down to make that investigation? Are you sure you come back? Please consult us and we saw it. They have rocket launchers now. In those days, they had 10 guns. You could sustain an injury and come back. Now they have rocket launchers. One is many down. who will go and carry out that investigation?
Okay, Prince Ekoto, it's true that Honorable Minister is saying that we should not only condemn the attacks, we should table the issue of the form of the state. Do you agree with him?
Well, basically, everything that we have been trying to say here boils down to the fact that the state is being jeopardized. The central state is being jeopardized. And the reason for that is because probably there are some grievances. And those grievances are legitimate, which Blessed Baby has expanded on that bountifully. And we cannot only want to focus on the fact that blood is being spilled or somebody was killed, and we condemn the fact that we have been condemning, no doubt. And we will continue to condemn because no human life is worthless. But at the same time, we have to look beyond the condemnation. Looking beyond the condemnation means that what can we do in order that people should not continually be killed? I will want to continue to perch on Blessed Baby's analysis of the situation. The decentralized system is not holding ground. It boils down to one of the points that Linus mentioned, that the decentralization is still, we should wait. For how long are we going to wait? The issue is this. We must understand that decentralization was enacted in this country since 1996. 1996, 2021 is about close to 20-something years.
But it started being active in 2019. We created that ministry in 2019.
I'm talking Linus, please. You know, so what I'm saying is that the demand for the form of the state is not only contingent on SDF alone. It's a national cry now. The people of Mokolo in the far north, they want some degree of autonomy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't expect, I mean, it is very abhorring to note that somebody leaves Mokolo to come and do passport in Yaoundé, to come and do ID card in Yaoundé, to come and follow up his
pension benefit in finance
in Yaoundé. All of those things creates frustration. And that frustration leads to anger. That anger, when it bursts out, can lead to all the kind of destruction that we see today. So there is a way that we should reason out what happened in Bali. We should not only reason it out per that situation in the church. We should reason out of that church and look at extended solutions.
What is the solution of the USDP? The form of the state. For the form of the state. You people are standing for what?
We are standing for one nation, two systems. When I say one nation, two systems, it doesn't mean that we want the Anglophone regions to be separated from the Francophone regions. One region, two systems means that the reinforcement of the bilingualism nature of the country from its inception within a federal system. That is to say, the amplification of the decentralization, moving the name decentralization, because in my view, I ask myself, the concept of where is it found, decentralization, in governance system of the world? Where do we find the concept of decentralization? It doesn't exist. Therefore, when we go into the Constitution and revise the Constitution and answer the questions of the people in this generation, we will be able to understand that the people want autonomy. And that autonomy can be called federalism, it can be called whatever name you want to give it.
One nation, two systems. That is the USDP. Blessed Baby, we are concluding on this equally because we don't have much time. What do you have to say? Your advice that you can give?
Yeah, permit me to first say that what is happening in the SDF is just fellows who are struggling to seek political relevance. Do you understand me? But what I want to tell them is that we all regret that they have decided to drag that party to where it is today, and that they shouldn't think that anybody will be spared. When the SDF is going to phase out, they too will phase out with the SDF. You should bear that in mind. If they want to destroy the party, it is their place to destroy it. But they should know that they are destroying themselves. Beyond the SDF, none of those two figures are going to have any political relevance in this country moving forward. People should attach themselves to things that matter to this country. And don't think that the efforts that people like him are doing are not being seen. Do you understand me? Those efforts are being seen. And when the time will come, because that time will come, the time will come when hypocrisy will fall apart.
That's right.
We will have to choose people in this country who have shown a track record of consistency to the problems of the people.
That's right.
I'm not sure that it's going to be any of those people who, you know, one party is conniving with the government to continue eating fat. The other party is, no, come on, let us be clear. We know those things. We know those things. So I don't want to talk more about them. Let's put them aside. To come back to the question that you asked me. Look, our country needs to move forward.
That's right.
Even without the Anglophone crisis, we should have faced an issue of heavy centralization of power in this country.
Of course.
Yes. Even without, you know, I was at the technical secretariat of the National Dialogue, and I had the privilege, I think, Prince, to be in that hall during the plenary session when some of the leadership, people in leadership positions, I'm not talking about people in government, people who are in leadership positions in this country took the floor to make certain declarations. And one of the declarations that I remember very vividly is what the Lamido of Rebuba said, Abubakari Abdullah, that in Pearl culture, it is said that if you want to eat peacefully, without having all of the flies turning around you, you have to remove a part of your food and send to another side of the table so that the flies can go there.
That's right.
Don't look at the imagery of flies.
That's right.
But what he's saying is that
Don't eat alone.
don't eat alone.
Share.
Don't eat alone. Share. And President Paul Biya has shown in this country that his political understanding of leadership was sharing. The problem is that the sharing is happening only within an elite system. It's happening within an elite. It's an elite system that is sharing. For instance, when he continuously changes governments, do you think that beside the requirement of efficiency in government, President Biya has shown clearly that he has always struggled to make sure that people can partake in some way. But the problem is that if individuals are partaking, the real power sharing in this country is to ensure that there is a motorable road, a train line, an airport, a functioning transport system that enables people to leave from Yaoundé and go to Kuseri when they want to. That is the meaning of sharing the opportunities.
Without much stress.
Sharing resources. Making sure that when you arrive Chang, you don't have the impression that you are in some backyard. You understand? And even the organization of the capital city. This capital city was supposed to reflect the fact that we are a diverse nation.
That's right.
That we are a diverse nation.
That's right.
I still move around Yaoundé, I see billboards entirely in French.
That's right.
We should have reached a level in this country where billboards could even be represented in Bassa or in Fufude. That when you arrive, you know that these people are a diverse people.
That's right.
So I think that, and I believe, whatever be the case, those who are going to have the responsibility to move us ahead, because I am one of those who think that President Biya has done his job, and that 2025, whether he is alive or not, it will be time to hand this country to another leadership. A leadership that can be chosen by the people. That for the first time in this country, the ballot box can be trusted. And that people can confront, political confrontation. They can tell us what they want to do with this country. We can judge their ideas. I'm looking for a political campaign season that should last more than 2-3 months, where ideas are confronting, so that Cameroonians can choose. And now tell these people that, look, we want to move somewhere, take us where we are going to. We are, look, my brothers, we are lagging behind.
Sure.
When you move around some of these other African countries that we used to consider to be our
Like
juniors,
Rwanda, for example.
to our juniors, like I tell you, you ask yourself, are we not ambitious?
Are we not ambitious? We should be ambitious.
We need ambition.
We need ambition. Linus Otoko, should the form of the state be discussed? An issue of you said a while ago, no. But Nietzsche and OC.
The Nietzsche and OC battle, I will just borrow a word from the artist Afowakom. Power struggle, you don't do wonders. The power struggle, they worry them. Since it has been seen in that party that the sitting leader has decided to go on a technical retirement, we know what happens next. It's the same, almost the same thing we have at the level of government. Everybody is fighting to tell the boss that, look, I'm the best successor. And what happens, happens. But now, the worst part or the bad side of it is that when that fight has reached the zenith, this is not what the population or the people who trusted them from the word go want to see. And so the population or the politically schooled Cameroonians have become customers in a market, a political market where every seller sells and buyers buy. And so when they realize that the product they have ordered in the 1992 from SDF is not delivered in 2021, they will go and buy from another political seller.
Okay. We have 2 minutes. We are concluding the program. I will give 30 seconds to Prince Ekoso to conclude. Prince Ekoso, your last word before we go.
Again, on ne bâtit pas une nation en multipliant les ruines. This country is rich. This country is wealthy. Humanly, materially, you can name them. We have to come to a place where we understand that we can use what we have to become where we want to go and what we want to become.
30 seconds, please.
Well, I want to thank you again for the opportunity that we have to discuss these things. I mean, they are very passionate because all of us are involved. I'm not sure that any of us here can leave and go back to our villages without, looking up and down and ensuring that there's safety. But people should understand that at the end of the day, it is peace that matters. Whether you find yourself in Nigeria, in Cameroon, in the US, or wherever, peace matters for every endeavor that you want to carry out.
Lionel Sotoko.
For everyone to live well in a state where every individual, or in Cameroon there is diversity, every community have grievances. The list of things is concessions on both sides. And to make those concessions, I'll borrow a word from the mafia leader in Italy, Joseph Bonanno. On ne fait pas les affaires avec une arme à la main. That is what he said. So the earlier we sit and talk and leave arms alone, the better.
Today is a day of literature. You said it. Bless me. Maybe we should end with literature. Maybe another quotation will certainly come. Well, bless me. Another quotation.
Let's keep it for the next time.
Let's keep
viewers can be waiting.
Let's keep it for the next time. We say thank you for watching. Take another appointment same time next week. Then we say may God continue to bless the Republic.